All right, so welcome to the Secret Garden, everybody. And we have a special guest today that I'm excited to introduce. Some of you may have already listened to the audio clip that I posted in the chat about some of the experiences that I've had. And I can honestly say that I can still go back to some of the places where um, Melissa just seemed to have the key and open doors for me, and I can go back into those places and resonate with the peace and the love that I felt when I entered in at that time. And so it's still continuing to um, really bless me in profound ways. And the thing that's unique about Secret Garden for many of us, Melissa, I know that we talked about it a little bit, but most of us come from a church background, and we still really love God and
Mhm.
love Jesus and all that, but we don't really know how we fit in anymore to traditional Christianity and
Mm.
spirituality. And so we're navigating through all that, really still really liking Jesus and liking, the idea and concept of his life and his story, but also opening up to the awareness that we don't really know it all. We never did know it all. And there's so much more to God, source, creator, universe,
Mm.
um, than we know. And so this is where we are today. And I have, in my own journey, opened up in many ways to many modalities, and I have had experience with hypnosis in the past. But there are just certain people that we resonate with. And I was sharing with Melissa before we had started recording. My husband did a session with her last night, and he wants to continue working with her. So some of you who know Jeff know that that's a big deal. And so, and we know that it is Melissa's higher self and her guides, her angels, and Christ in her. Yeah, we don't look to the flesh; we look to the bigger picture.
Mhm.
So before I actually introduce her, I know many of you have read her bio already. Um, I wanted to just take a few minutes to just center ourselves. So we're just going to breathe, and I just want to add in a little sort of like a meditation, I guess, to that. So let's just all. Hopefully, I'm not going to close my eyes. You can close your eyes if you got, because I see people coming in. So if you guys want to close your eyes, please go right ahead. We're just going to get settled in, and you can just have a soft gaze. And we're just going to focus on the breath. And so when we breathe in, I'd like the breath to be nice and full. So we're going to breathe into a full belly, bring it up a little bit into the lungs. So you're actually kind of pushing out a little bit and then letting it go. You can let it out with an open mouth if you want to just release it, or a nice soft breath out, nice and long. And just keep a nice, gentle rhythm going with your breath, but do try to expand on the exhale. And there's a purpose for that expansion. When you expand and you feel a little bit of the pressure with your abdomen being pushed out a little bit, and your chest, your rib cage opening up, I want you to say, I have enough. And really feel that you have enough. I have enough. And on the exhale, just in your mind, I am enough. Let it go and trust. And then on the inhale, bringing it in, expanding a bit, pushing your abdomen out, inflating your belly. I have enough. I am enough on the exhale. Let's just go there a few more times. Breathing in, I have enough. And letting go, I am enough. And with your eyes still closed or in that soft gaze, and being with your nice gentle breath, we just want to acknowledge all of the help that we do have, that oftentimes are unseen. but that doesn't mean that we're lacking them just because we don't see them, just because we may not feel them or perceive them. We have all the help that we need, and we are not lacking. And so let's get into this meeting today with that concept, open to receiving whatever we need to receive without fear, knowing that we have it all already. Let's just all take one nice full breath in and let it go. Good. And with that, I welcome those who have joined. And I'd like to introduce you to Melissa. I'm just going to read a little bio that Melissa sent. Melissa has been on her spiritual journey for many years now. She was an introspective child interested in the martial arts, especially the mystical philosophy of it all. Even still, with both college and career, Melissa took the traditional corporate route, which lasted over 35 years. And during that time, sadly, her mom passed away. She was her best friend, and of course, Melissa missed her terribly. She spent many years reading, listening, and learning about the spiritual side of life, exploring many different modalities of healing. Then a few years ago, she had her first hypnosis healing session, and it was the most powerful healing modality that she'd ever experienced. And when her massage therapist suggested that she use her throat chakra to heal, it hit her like a ton of bricks about what she should be doing in this life. So in August of 23, she completed the Beyond Quantum Healing certification and found her solid connection with the ability to assist others on their healing journey. And I actually have to fully agree with that so much. And thank you, Melissa, so much for sharing your gift with me personally, and with my husband and with my daughter. We've all had sessions with Melissa, and we're very, very grateful that you are doing this. And yeah, without further ado, I just want to let you have the floor. And I'm going to be here if you need somebody to bounce things off of. But I encourage everybody in the group to please be interactive with her. Yeah, she wants that. So, all right. Go ahead, Melissa. Welcome. We're so happy to
Wow.
have you.
Hi,
Hi.
and thank you very much for that introduction. It kind of brought a little emotion up.
Mm.
But but yeah, so I have been on a spiritual journey for I think all of my life. I use the word introspective, but I feel like I was kind of termed a weird child because I liked a lot of strange things that other kids didn't like, and while everybody else, all the other girls were playing with Barbies and just really doing the girl thing, I was watching Kung Fu theater, and I loved that movie, or not the movie, the series Kung Fu with David Carradine. Do you guys, am I
Oh,
aging
yeah.
myself? I know I'm dating myself, but
Yes,
I
grasshopper.
loved, yes. And I just resonated with that character so much. And I did start my martial arts career at 14. I was super lucky. Um, I had an instructor that was a very good man. He was law enforcement, and he took me under his wing, and I was his student until he passed away.
Mhm.
So the good thing about this particular instructor is that he very, very much, and the whole school very much concentrated on the philosophy of the martial arts, the whole person, not just the physical aspect, not just the violence of it, but the inner perfection and working towards perfection. And he was an amazing man, and he was like my second dad.
Mhm.
So now I am getting emotional. Didn't expect
Mhm.
that. But at any rate, life happens. I grew up, the dollar was important. So I did go into a very corporate career. Most would tell you that I am very, very in touch with my masculine side, almost a little too much sometimes. I am I am female, obviously, but I was always a tomboy. I always liked to do the things that needed to be done, whatever they were. And so I feel like I relate very well to both men. and women. And I've spent a lot of time studying the male perspective. And so when I do have a session, I feel like I can relate to both the male spiritual, mental, and physical needs, as well as the female on the side. So I do encourage, I know this is probably a very femininely dominated, um, well, healing is just
Mm,
is female dominated, but there's a reason for that because we are healers, and the divine feminine is amazing. But there's the divine male too, and I'm learning that every day. So to get back to the modality of the hypnosis. So a lot of people would call this regression hypnosis, past life regression. You'll hear that term thrown around quite a bit, but I see it a little bit differently. I definitely see it as hypnosis and hypnosis as just relaxing and getting into that frame of mind where your imagination can just run away with you like a
mm,
child.
mm,
And the reason that is, and if you guys may be so aware of this, and I'm preaching to a choir, but the imagination is the language of the soul. It's
mm,
how our soul can communicate with us. It will bring the universe together and bring you signs and indications, and but if you want the full story, if you really want the full story, you have to relax your mind, ask for that information, and then let it come through. And
mm,
that's what I do. I
mm,
help you get into that relaxation process. I help you invoke your imagination if you haven't already, because so many of us, I mean, as children, we are super imaginative, but as adults, not always. Some
mhm,
people are very creative, but some people are very right brained or left brained. I can't remember which side it is. But if you're very analytical, it sometimes is very difficult to get out of your own way to listen to that voice. And that's what we work on. That's what I help you do. And and really set an intention because we do an induction. If you've been through hypnosis, you know there's a portion at the beginning where the practitioner speaks. And again, if I'm jumping around, I'm sorry. This is my first interview,
you're
but
doing beautifully. Thank you. Keep going.
when you get into the induction, I liken it to reading a child a nighttime story, a bedtime story,
Mhm,
and I use that voice, and it just relaxes you. And we do a lot of breathing, as Susan and Tess, and that is so important. And I just give that person the permission for 2 hours. For 2 hours, I don't just give you permission. I require that you only consider your own feelings. You just have to give yourself that 2 hours. You can't think of family. You
mhm,
can't think of me. You can't think of if I'm uncomfortable. You have to take that 2 hours and just give yourself a vacation and allow yourself to relax
mhm.
and just enjoy. And if nothing else happens, you get a 2 hour beautiful relaxation nap. I mean, that's the worst thing that can happen, right? But
It's beautiful.
if you do give yourself permission to go on the journey, I like to start the journey with your healing place. So in my induction, we will do set your intentions, and I'll have your questions if you want to send me questions to ask your higher self later. But it's really important that you visit a healing place first. Not always. Every session is different. The mind goes where the mind goes, but and the soul goes where the soul goes. And we just follow it and let it lead us to a place that's relaxing and healing. And those were the places that you were talking about before, where in your meditations, you can go back to those places and actually feel that healing that you're sending to yourself. And
Yeah.
that's basically what you're doing. You're just finding your happy place, wherever
If I
that
can
was.
just jump in and just
Yes,
give my,
ma'am.
my
Please
little two
do.
cents there, because the truth is,
Absolutely.
it's not even in meditation. Like if I am in a
Oh,
moment where I feel like I could really use a hug right now. I find myself going back to that place. I don't know if you remember our session, but I was
I
in
do.
this place that you said perhaps sounded like, and I can't remember his name, the person that you told me who was the channeler for this particular a planet, I guess. The Andromeda, I guess, is what you were kind of liking it to,
Oh,
because they were
right.
in those pods,
Yes.
and I felt so welcome in that space with these beings. I felt so welcome and very familiar. And anyway, it was a beautiful sensation. And so if I'm going through my day and I feel like, oh, I just really, I've lost that attachment to loving myself that way,
Mm,
I can go back to that place. And I just like bring my imagination back there. And I remember, oh, yeah, wow, that's how they loved me. They just totally loved me. And so I've had experiences before. Now, because we're, a Christian community where, I kind of relate to Jesus in that way, but he's much bigger than just the flesh and blood that we kind of attribute him to be. He really is Christ. He's
mhm,
everything. Like we're everything. We're all one. And so why can't I also feel welcomed by this group of beings who also represent Christ? Anyway, I'm on my soapbox here because I'm always trying to get us to think differently about God and Jesus and stuff. But the truth is, going back to that place from that you unlocked for me with your beautiful, so in tune to the spirit heart, because that's exactly how I see you. You're very in tune with the spirit, and you were just right along with me, journeying with me there. And you opened up this world to me. I can go into that place and I can feel that love and support. And I don't even know if they were my guides, part of my guides, maybe some of my guides. I don't know. I don't know how to label it, but I have this tangible sensation now that I can tap into that brings me a feeling of security, stability, love, support. Support's a big one. I don't think I've felt support for most of my life, if not all of my life. To feel that support energetically has been really um, solidifying. If I can use that word, it's really made me feel much more solid, much more grounded in my body and in my life. So, yeah, I don't even know where we were going, Melissa, but
well, and that's the beauty of it. I mean, and I love what you said about you unlocked it because
Mhm.
all I did was make the space. And it doesn't take someone like me, and I'll be very honest, it doesn't take someone like me necessarily for you to get there, to find that place, to recognize your guides, your spirit. And and quite frankly, I love what you said about you don't know if they were your guides or they were just beings. Well,
Mhm.
I've kind of found out through a lot of sessions, they don't necessarily want to be labeled.
Oh,
They
wow.
just are.
Mhm.
They just are there and they
Mhm.
are just around you and they don't necessarily want a name. Not all of
Beautiful.
them come, but some of them do. Some of them want a name and some of them don't. It's just it is what it is. And
Mhm.
I've even been told in sessions that I can't remember if it was a I think it was regarding a planet, but they said there is no earthly name for here.
Wow.
So you just have to remember it by the energy
Oh,
that you
wow.
feel. And it's like, okay. And so in that time, during a session such as that, I'll say, okay, maybe I did this in your session. Sometimes I'm guided to say, hey, take a snapshot right here, right now, feel the energy and just soak it in. I do that a lot because
Mhm.
I do want people to be able to go back to that space that where they've made the connection and just their happy place for healing and
Yeah.
rejuvenation and feeling home.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
maybe
it's
that's where we were
beautiful.
going. I'm going to grab a quick
Yeah.
drink.
Yeah, go ahead. I mean, the reason this is called Secret Garden is because to me, I love there's a verse in Genesis that says that God said to Adam and Eve, "You can freely eat from any tree in the garden. He said, you can eat freely from any tree. The knowledge of good and evil tree, which is the tree of judgment and condemnation and death, he said, when you eat from that, then you'll experience death. But the truth is, we don't need to experience death. We're free to eat from any tree in the garden. So we don't have to say, we don't have to judge, we don't have to condemn and say, if I eat from this, it's going to kill me. If I eat from that, it's going to hurt me. If I eat from that, I'm going to be judged. We need to be open and say, no, you know what? I have permission to taste the fruit of every single tree. And I think human beings are trees. I think we're the trees.
That's a
And we
that's a
give
good
off the fruit,
analogy.
our energy, our work, the things that we love to provide for people. Like you love to do what you do.
I
And
do.
I tasted the fruit of that and it was delicious and I love it. And it doesn't mean that I have to eat that every single day. I've tasted it, it's beautiful, and I definitely will come back again. But like you said, it's not just your fruit. There are other people who do that type of healing
Hmm.
modality, but
Absolutely.
not in the same exact way. And so
Well,
that's the
no.
beautiful thing. And we're allowed to, we are given permission to eat and experience the fruit of everybody's labor, the fruit of their heart, the fruit of their being, whoever they are. We can do that and stop trying to, put a label on it and say this is that. We can just be open to it and receive. And we don't have to park there. We don't have to stick with one person. We can move on if we
Oh
want to.
no. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody, I
Mhm.
everybody has something to teach us,
Mhm.
and they
Yes.
have something to learn from us. There,
Yes.
there's that every session is a healing session for me.
Yeah.
Every session.
I love it.
I learn something every session and every interaction.
Yeah.
So
I love
that's
that.
always been my philosophy. Even back in the martial arts, when we were helping each other learn, we as
Yeah.
students would teach and give and receive. And
Wow.
it wasn't just the instructor that could teach us something, but my instructor was teaching us to be instructors.
Hmm.
And so I always wanted to be a teacher. So I
Love
feel like the more I teach, the more I
Yeah.
learn.
Wow.
And so, so
That's
yeah.
that's true humility. So I'd love to ask you, like, what are some things that you learned that maybe blew your mind, blew your socks off, in your interactions with people? Can you think of anything just off the top of your head?
Well, I don't know that anything is going to be earth-shattering to anyone here, but in recent sessions, well, I've just the last several sessions, it's been about the water and about the flow and
Wow.
about the joy, and energy is like water.
Mm,
So this there's been a lot of things that have come to me, but energy is like water. When it's stagnant and is not shared and
mm,
doesn't flow, it's it's tainted. It gets stagnant. It diminishes. It's like a pool of stagnant water. It's going to start growing bacteria. So energy has to be shared. And I keep getting the images of water and how much we need to sing to the water and praise the
mm,
water, and that the water is, in fact, one session that came up is that every this was a really cool session with my friend Mark, who I want to ask him before I talk too much about more about him, but that energy has to be shared, it has to be moving, and it's its own intelligent divine being.
mm,
So, and then in that session also abundance,
mm.
money, money because we put energy into it has become its own entity
Yeah, wow.
with intelligence. And in order to have abundance, we need to in that way, in the money way, right? Because
Hmm.
abundance is not just money. Woo!
Right.
Abundance is, for me, it's energy and spiritual, I don't want to use the word thankfulness, but spiritual gratitude
Mm,
and appreciation that comes. And the biggest and most profound thing that's come to me is in my meditation. is I was, and I'm going to be honest, it was after the session with your daughter.
Oh, wow.
I was thanking my guides, and
Mm,
they showed me how much in my meditation, how many people were thinking of me in a positive way,
mm. Wow.
and showing gratitude to spirit about what I was able to help them unlock in themselves, like you said.
Hmm.
And it that blew me away. That was one that really did, because I thought, am I making an impact? Because all I want to do is help.
Hmm.
And it's almost like a it's almost like an addiction. I hate to use
Hmm.
that word, but if I'm not helping, if I'm not making a difference in someone's
Yeah.
life, I feel stagnant. I don't
Well, I
I don't
mean,
feel like me.
I just want to say right there, like, don't even try to put a negative label on that. That is your joy and your bliss,
Yeah.
and I want you to follow that because look at the impact that you have on the world when you follow your joy and your bliss. And that's the message that we all need to integrate. We all need to bring that into the deepest core of our being because it's already there. We just need to actually attach our being to it, that it's true, that our bliss, our joy has been put here for our purpose. Our purpose is to follow our joy and our bliss. And the fact that you get so much life from doing what is so healing for other people, you get a lot of life out of it. That's
Mhm.
something to keep you in line with continuing doing what is beneficial for the whole, not just for yourself, but it's for the whole. Because definitely when we're life giving to other people, it definitely just brings life back to us. That's just the reciprocity of being in flow, isn't it? Being in that abundance, being in that energy where we're not
Mhm.
stagnant and just
Yes.
using it on ourselves like addictions
Yes.
actually
Oh, yeah.
turn out to be. Yeah.
Well, I guess it's a good addiction in that
Yeah.
way, if I think about it. But what I was going to say is I always joke about, yes, I absolutely do want to take over the world with
Yeah.
light, with
Yeah.
one person's light at a
Yes,
time.
girl.
If I can turn on somebody's light and expose it and let it show, whose light are they going to turn on? And so
Hmm.
forth and so on. And then let's just take over the world with light. And that's what I see in my
It's beautiful.
meditations is lights are coming on everywhere and it's going to light up the world.
I
And I'm just
love
one
it.
piece of that. I'm just doing my part in that, just trying to do my part in that. I've
Well,
always
and the
wanted
the
to.
truth is you are actually being so selfless. You're not focused on yourself and you're being selfless in the sense that you want to see everybody else's light and see them light up. But by you wanting to do that, you are also lighting up and
Yes.
being a light. Like, so your selflessness, although we wouldn't call it that because we think, well, you know, I'm doing it because I'm getting money, and so therefore it's not a good thing. You know how we label things like that,
Hmm.
right? Well, of course you're going to give money because money is just an expression of that flow, right? Just the
It's just
expression of
energy.
that love, just that
It's a way,
energy. But
it's
we've
an energy
labeled it
storage.
just like the addiction. We've labeled it. We've said, well, and so we kind of feel like, oh, I'm not sure that's quite right. But the truth is, you are being absolutely selfless in your addiction, in your desire to light up the world, because we need your light. We need your light. So it's beautiful.
We need lots of light. We need
We do.
everybody's light to come
Hmm.
online.
Yeah.
But I didn't really feel like my light was coming online until I started
Mm,
getting deep into this practice. And well, my light was, I won't say that. My light has always been pretty out there, but I
nice.
didn't feel like I was being able to be helpful
Mm,
other than just being a light every day. And I get this so many times in so many sessions about just being being there. You're just holding the light. You're just sharing your light. You're bringing in the light, and maybe you don't, in one session you don't get this huge mission that you're supposed to be on. But many, many people get told, your light, you need to shine your light. You need to let your light shine, and you need
wow.
to bring it to everywhere you go.
Mm,
and in every room. And if it seems dark, you can light it up. Don't be afraid of their darkness. You can light up that room. You
mm.
be the light. You're here to
Wow.
hold the light and you're here to spread the light. And so when those come through, it sounds so cliche. You hear it up, but it's not. It
Right.
because you can do an experiment yourself. Walk into a room of a bunch of business people or anybody, that is not smiling, not and make a joke.
Hmm.
It doesn't
Hmm.
have to be, oh, I'm the brightest light. I'm just the light. Just relate to those people.
Hmm.
Just relate to them on their level, at their level, wherever they are, and make them smile. And how will they remember you?
Hmm.
That that's what I've always done. I've always been kind of a magnet for a group. I will say that, but it wasn't until this started that I really felt a huge expansion of just
Wow.
being able to really propagate that light.
I love
So
it.
that's
Do you think that perhaps that expansion of that opening up of your light, do you think that came because you saw in yourself something that you didn't see before, that you actually went, wow, I actually really love to do that. And as you pursued that, that expanded and created more for you?
well, it's definitely an expansion, but I think there's a difference in passively are people who are passively needing to smile or they don't realize they want help. They don't
Hmm.
realize they want to smile more. They don't realize they're
Right.
stuck.
Yeah.
And and just passing on that light may give them an indication of, hey, you know what? There could be more. I should go explore my spiritual side. I should
Wow.
start asking questions. But when people are coming to you and they are actively pursuing some unlocking and they actively want to work on their spiritual awareness and whatever's bothering them, whatever's blocking them, they actively want to get rid of those blocks. They actively want to help themselves. That's that's a huge invitation for me
Yeah.
because I don't want to be a busybody. I don't try to guide them in any direction
Hmm.
except back to themselves and back to their
Yeah.
higher selves and back to their guides and back to those that can help them. So
Yes.
there's a difference about sharing energy passively and making people smile in a crowd that you never know and will probably never see again. And there's
Mm.
a lot to be said for that.
Hmm.
But like you said, I really lit up when I was working with people who actively want to make that difference, want to make that
Wow.
leap. So there is
Hmm.
a huge difference in the energy, but still it's all
Right.
important, that
So
joy and that energy.
it's almost like for those who don't want to open up to that or aren't even aware of it, that your desire bounces off of them. But for those who come to you and they say, "Hey, I have this, I don't know what to do with it. Can you help me?" And you
Yeah.
feel it and like your energy flows with theirs, and then you
Mhm.
can actually see some movement.
And that's actually the basis of the induction. I don't know if you remember the induction, but
I
the heart
don't.
induction when we're well, I know, and it's but the heart induction is it's a, what it states is that I am combining my heart with yours
Mm,
for
yeah.
your spiritual journey, whatever
Mm,
that may be. And that's the heart and mind induction where part of the induction where I say we're asking only for the highest and greatest and most benevolent energies, expressions, and I combine my guides with your guides.
mhm.
Again, I don't know if you remember that
I
part,
do
but I
remember that.
invite
Yeah.
all of your guides, all of your soul family, yourself as a higher, your higher self, and you as an ascended master from the future. So
Yes.
we ask, and that's not my induction, that's beyond quantum healing. I don't want to take credit for all of the induction process. So, and you can find Candace Craw Goldman is the founder of that under Dolores Cannon, who is quantum healing, quantum hypnosis healing techniques.
Wow.
That's all a big school and it's all,
Yes, it is. Yes.
but I don't want to take credit for their inductions. But that
Mm,
is what the induction says. We're going to combine your heart, my
mm,
guides, your guides, our hearts, and we're going to do this together. And I'm just going to be on your team and on your side. And I just want to go with you through your journey. And I'm going to help you get through any blocks because
mm.
I don't know if you remember this, but during hypnosis, I'll give you a toolbox. And if there's any wall we need to break down, or if there's any mirrors we need to look at, or any tools we
Mm,
need, I'm going to bring those. I'm very active in
mm,
in in breaking down blocks.
love it.
So as you can tell from my personality, I'm not standoffish. I'm I'm a very head on person. And if
Gorgeous.
we have as a society, and I don't know how long this has been going on, but this was a huge revelation for me. This society has taught us to stuff our pain down,
Mm-hmm.
swallow it, bury
Mm-hmm.
it, don't look at it. And if you're afraid, push it back.
Yeah.
And I say no.
Yeah.
I say no. I hit
Yeah.
everything head on. I don't allow, I say I don't allow. I don't very easily allow someone to just say, nope, we're not going there. We're not breaking that down. I'm scared. Like, nope, I'm here with you. Your team's with
Yes.
you, and we're
Mm-hmm.
going head on in.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm kind of a head-on collision girl. So if you're not ready for that,
Mm. Well,
you
I
you
just
may not.
wanted to interject again and just say, like, I think that's one thing that I felt about you is you actually gave me the feeling, like energetically, that I was being supported by your heart and by your
Mhm,
intention. And the induction, I do remember parts of it. I felt such clarity about it. There was nothing in there that I felt was overwhelming or imposing upon me. It
mhm,
was just embracing my free will. And I felt like this was really about how I wanted it to be. Like it's not about how you want it to be or what you're
mhm,
creating for me. You were really holding that space for me, and I felt very supported. And for those who know Jeff, he felt the same way, and he's not easy to open up. And same with my daughter
mhm,
Emily, she was the same way, and I'm sure you found that. She can be very closed and needing, wanting somebody to go into that closed space with her, but she doesn't open up to just anybody. And so for her to open up with you the way that she did, and she was very excited about her session with you as well, that says a lot. And
it does.
so and just to, comparatively speaking, for me personally, I've had a session that I felt was wonderful. It was very fruitful and really gave me a lot to chew on. It was a past life regression. It was fantastic. I really loved it. I enjoyed it. But the sense of being held in the same way wasn't there. And that may be because it was by a male, and that but I mean, males
Mm,
also have the capacity to be very comforting and
absolutely.
mothering and nurturing as well. So
Mhm.
I'm not saying that that's why, but it could just be your energy, and maybe it was the induction. I don't know. But that's certainly your heart's intention. I can feel that about you. So,
Well, and I joke again. I'm all about the laughter, and
yeah.
in so many sessions, um, it comes through that they say it's all fun. This is
Mm.
supposed to be fun. When did it quit being fun? You're
Mm.
supposed to be playing. You're
I love
supposed
it.
to be,
Yeah.
these challenges are just challenges and they're just
Mm.
temporary. And you're taking them so seriously and
Hmm.
it's infecting your physical being. Why are you
Yes.
doing that? And I'm just going,
Hmm.
I don't know,
Yeah.
and they're saying this. Why are you being so serious? Laugh more. Even in my own session, I do swaps with other students who've recently got because I feel like it's important to spread this. So,
Hmm.
and even in my own self, I said, why are you forgetting the good times? Why
Hmm.
why are you just focused on everything that's so hard all the time? And I'm
Yeah.
guilty of it.
Mm.
And so one of my guides came through and she's a very rotund woman with large pink hair with maracas.
Love it.
And now every time that I start getting too serious, I get this mental image of her playing the
Yes.
maracas going, this is fun, this is fun. And I'm like, where did that come from?
That's beautiful.
And that's from but back to the nurturing. So there is something about me you also should know if you're going into a session. I do have a huge mama bear energy, and this mama bear is about letting the cubs run and play and do what they do and learn from their, you
Hmm.
know, whatever they do. If they get injured, you don't want them jumping off a cliff or fall, so you keep them so you keep those boundaries, but you keep them very, very, very wide,
Yes.
and you let them go where they're going to go, and you only bring it in when it's just too much, when
Hmm.
there's and they're in a session, you're not going to have grave danger like that.
Right.
But I do come across as a mama bear. We are going to tackle this. There is not anything that our guides can't handle. Nothing. There is
Hmm.
nothing that you're going to experience that our guides can't handle, and we're going to do it together. And I'm going to make sure you get there safely.
Yes, I
And
just
so,
wanted to share about that too, if I could. Just let me jump in there because it's true. I love that you said that mama bear energy because I certainly felt that as well. And I told the group that I had an encounter with my father and my mother who both crossed over, and I could
mm,
feel your mama bear energy just coming up and holding that little one that was so vulnerable that felt
mhm.
like I have to stand up to my dad right now and
Yes,
tell him these things. But you
yes.
totally supported me in that, and I could
And you
feel
did
that.
not want to do that.
Well, I thought I was done. Like I told you, I think at the
Yeah.
end of it, I said, I've done a shitload of work about my father and my mother, and I thought I was done. I really did. And you were like, No, you're doing this." And so I was like, "Okay, we're doing this."
Yeah.
And and I think I might have shared with everybody else, but that actually was so tremendously freeing for me because I didn't realize I still had those attachments. Like
Oh,
I
yeah.
really thought that I was working through that, but that attachment was there, something that you picked up on, and then were so mothering to me in that moment and just encouraging me to just step out onto that cliff and that I wasn't gonna fall and hurt myself because you were supporting me. Yeah.
And that's the thing. And I don't know who in this time in life has not dealt um with narcissism. And I'm not saying that your parents were narcissists, but
Wow.
um
I could.
so that is another big part of my journey.
Hmm.
I have a parent who is highly narcissistic, and I've dealt with that all my life. And if that's not a life lesson, there ever was one, is to have a narcissist be in control of your life for the formative years and you being under that thumb.
Yes.
And so that is a side study that I do.
Mm.
That parent is still living. That parent still lives near me, and I deal with that parent every day.
Wow.
So I have an ongoing experience with narcissism to see if unconditional love can fix that, can
Right.
rehabilitate that. Because
Wow.
if you've ever worked with a narcissist, they don't think they ever do anything wrong,
Yeah,
nor do they need any help
that's
whatsoever.
right.
And
Yes.
maybe that's true. I need the help. I need the help
Mm.
dealing with that narcissistic um, personality. But
Wow.
but but my choices are turn my back and abandon my family, which I absolutely will never do,
Yeah.
or embrace it, become the parent
Mm.
and deal with it, because narcissism is dealing with a child.
Wow.
And and looking at them from that there being a child perspective,
Hmm.
and you don't have any weight on me because I'm the adult. And I
Yeah.
say this because there are so many folks that do come into sessions that do have parental things going on.
Hmm.
And it takes a lifetime, even after they've passed sometimes, to stand up and say, you know what? They
Mm.
were just wrong.
Yeah.
They were just wrong in the way they treated me. They were just wrong. And they had their own reasons for treating people that way. And they had their own baggage that they carried around and never dealt with. But it's not your baggage.
Yes.
It is not. And you have to give it back. And
Yep.
so another person that I love to watch, and I feel like she's been my mentor, unwittingly been my mentor, and she has her YouTube channel, and it's her name is Alba Weinman, Weinman, and I've been listening to her sessions, and she posts full sessions um, for several years. before I decided. And I decided if I was going to do this, I was going to follow in her footsteps. And she's a very head on, hit it head on. We're going to tackle this. We're going to see what it is.
Hmm.
And we're going to not only tackle it and see what it is, we're going to give that energy back. We're going to
Wow.
get rid of that energy. You have to release that. That was never yours to carry. And we give it back. And we physically image vision, physically removing that energy wherever it's stored in your body and giving it back to the person that it belongs to. And that's a hard thing to do sometimes because
Right.
want, you never want to make your parents accountable. All you want from
Yeah.
them is for them to love you.
Yep.
Well, by golly, they have to be accountable. And
Hmm.
even if it's in your own spiritual psyche, they have to be held accountable and you have to give that responsibility back to them and then replace that with the light and love of source. That's a very common thing that I do. And I think you experienced that, Susan, where we pulled out that energy
Yes.
and emptied out a
Yes.
cavity and it causes pain wherever we carry it, our shoulders, our hips, our
Yep.
belly, our wherever we carry it, and it has to come out and
Yep.
it has to be replaced with love and light for
Hmm.
you to understand and say that is not my burden to carry. That was your
Yes.
burden. And every soul has its own journey. And now I'm on my soapbox. Every soul,
Girl, go, girl.
every soul has its own journey. And uh, for instance, me and my parent who's narcissistic has their own soul journey.
Hmm. Hmm.
But my journey is how to work with their journey.
It's
It's not
amazing.
about fixing that person. It's about
Yes.
how do I handle that?
Oh, so good.
Because only you
Hmm.
only, well, we all know this in this group, you only can control you.
Yes.
And fear is a choice,
Hmm.
and so is love.
Yep.
So you have to make that choice. And fear
Yeah.
is a choice. Fear is something that you do to yourself and allow to happen to yourself. Now,
Yeah.
being alert, being cautious, that's all good. That's all
Hmm.
well. I'm in the martial arts. I'm all about defending myself physically, emotionally,
Hmm.
spiritually.
Hmm.
But I can't control what that person does. I can only control how I react to it. And this is an age old thing. But too often, when it, especially, those developing years and those parents that probably shouldn't have been parents. I'm going to be
Hmm.
quite honest with you. There are so many that probably shouldn't have been parents,
Hmm.
but that was their journey. And I have a whole nother thing behind that, why people become parents when they shouldn't become parents. I mean, I've gotten a lot of information about that.
Wow.
But but
That's interesting. Very
yeah, and
interesting.
that's something I'm still trying to flesh out in my own meditations
Hmm.
that, wow, why did you show me that? Okay, I understand. But
Wow.
but yeah, so
Hmm.
you may be having a problem with a narcissistic child, an adult child. And that happened to me not happened to me, but it was in a session recently. And their higher self came and said, wow, that is their problem.
Wow.
Why are you trying to fix it?
Yeah.
It's not your problem. You
Yeah.
need to love them. You need to give them all of your love and intention, everything that you would give to your child, but you can't condone the behavior and you won't fix it.
Yeah.
And
That's
so,
that's that's hard to accept.
I have two grown children myself.
Yes. And I
So,
think we like specifically for mothers, I think we just have this programming that says that we have to give up our lives for our kids and we have to do whatever we
mhm.
can to make their lives better. And of course, we desire the best for our children, but where does it
But
come
that's their
in?
soul journey.
When do we begin to let go? And We've talked about it in this group before because there is a Bible verse that says that we have to leave our mother and our father and cleave to our lover. And our lover really is Christ. Our lover is life. Our lover is ourselves and how we create life. That's our lover. So, how do we cleave to who we are, our light, the truth of who we are, our delight, our bliss? Leave the teachings of our mothers and our fathers. Let go of what they've taught us. We're grateful for it, but we need to let it go. And so we need to do that individually, but then how do we, as the mom, let go and let our child experience that letting go too? And there's grief there, there's mourning, there's whatever, there's fear, lots of fear. But to be that one that's able to say, I need to look at my heart, I need to look at my emotions, and I need to be real about this. I've got to be clear, cut, and dry. And
Mhm.
if I need help in doing that, then Melissa, I'm going to ask for your help, or I'm going to ask for Janine or Joy or whoever. I
Mhm.
need some
Mhm.
help to have
Mhm.
clarity here because it's really hard for me to let my kid do her own thing and make mistakes and get hurt because of them.
Right? But that's their journey.
That's their journey.
And it's funny, the harder we push, and I don't mean to turn this into a parent talk, but the harder we push our kids in one direction, don't they just want to go the other way?
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
so
Yep.
I found, and this is terrible, but it's almost manipulative
Mm,
when I can say, your life,
yes.
do what you want. And and this is also
It's
dealing with a
funny.
narcissist
Mm,
and they're unhappy because this or that. And you say, well, it sounds like you've given it a lot of thought.
mm,
If you feel like you need to change your situation, I'm in full support
love it.
because all they want to do is make you feel guilty
Hmm.
about a situation they've put themselves in.
Hmm.
Okay. Kids will do you the same way.
Hmm.
I didn't want
Yeah.
to come into this world, whatever. But
Hmm.
but really, when you make them own their own decisions and their own what? If that's what you want to do, I'm in full support.
Hmm.
Just let them do it.
I love it.
And
Love
and
it.
I'll be here if you need me.
Yeah.
I'll be here if you need me. I don't agree with this decision,
Yeah.
but I'll be here if you need me. And I'm not gonna abandon you for this.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if that's what you need to do, you go right ahead and do
You
it.
go right ahead. I
Whatever
love
you
it
feel like
so
you need
much.
to
It's
do.
just absolute unconditional. I am fully here for you. I'm holding space for you. I believe in you. And you go be you. I'm always going to be here for you and I'm not going to judge you. I'm not going to, and I might say some things that might even be hurtful to you, but it's not because, I totally
Hmm.
support you. And
Yep.
to have that energy given to a narcissist, for example, they don't know what to do with that because
They
they
don't.
want somebody to go in there and do it for them
Yes.
in a way that's
Yes.
going to please them. And they're not
Yes.
used to having their own lives. And I think that's why I love your impression and your stance about there being children, because I mean, all children from, the time of birth until they're what, 7, I think, when they begin to start thinking about outward things, they're all
Hmm.
narcissists. They scream, they
Yes.
throw tantrums,
Yes.
and some people just don't grow out of that. And so to have
Well,
that perspective that they're just kind of stuck in that they haven't fully developed in their maturity can also help
well, let me
take your
let me
hands off
chime
it.
in on that one because
Yeah.
and anybody here chime in. I mean, if you've had experiences, but
Hmm.
I've also learned and I've also done a lot of research. And the sad part about a narcissist is they're not normally born. I'm not going to say they're never born because I'll never use always or ever or any of those words
Hmm.
because there's always an exception to everything. I just used it. But anyway, there's usually something in their childhood that's caused this.
Hmm.
There's been a trauma, there's been a lack of love from especially from the mother.
Hmm.
So and it's sad. And so you can almost bet when you're dealing with someone who's angry and narcissistic and their childhood was probably not good.
Yeah.
And so it helps if you can think of that because they make you so angry. You just want to
Yes.
throttle them. But the bottom line is they are a very injured child. And sometimes when a child is injured, they never grow. They don't mature past the age when that trauma happened.
Yeah.
And
The-
so I see a,
Gee.
yeah, I see it. So, so
Yeah.
treating them with the same behavior they're treating you with doesn't work.
Hmm.
It just doesn't work because it's just going to cause a fight. You're just two children on the playground at that point.
Yes.
So, um, oh, I see a hand up.
Mhm.
Yay. How do we do
Good.
that?
Oh yeah, go ahead, Janine.
Oh, there we go. I just was gonna say that, yeah, I completely agree with that perspective. Um, my husband and I have been involved with foster care, and
Mm. Wow.
it
Man.
is a reality. It is a
Wow.
reality,
Yes.
that the person, and what it did was it gave me room to see in my own life up to a certain point where I had not emotionally grown past a certain age until I got out of the relationship with the narcissistic, well, narcissistic parents, and then I married a narcissist, and then I think
Oh,
I
I did
birthed a
too.
few.
I did too.
So, but and just that space, of course, now I'm cracking up because these days I'm all like, well, you chose me as your mom. Um, but, but just this
Mm.
empowering of who we really are.
Mhm.
I've seen that, and you do have to recognize. I know for our son, we adopted two, and our son asked me, I don't understand why my birth mom couldn't raise me. And I was
Oh.
like, well, baby, she had a really, really hard childhood, and the
Mhm.
outside of her kept growing up, but the inside didn't.
Oh,
I
that is
said,
beautiful.
would you give a baby to his sister was probably 9 at the time. I was like, would you give a baby to your 9-year-old sister? And he's like, oh, she's not ready to be a mom. I
Mm.
said, exactly.
Oh,
That's how it was for her. She just wasn't ready to be a mom. She didn't know how.
that is
Beautiful.
So,
beautiful.
but
That is
that's
a
the
beautiful
reality,
analogy.
right? That is the
Yes,
reality. And so that's why I was like, whoop, whoop, because, I'm like, we're living it here. So,
we
Yeah.
are. We
so
are.
much. And
Interesting that you mentioned foster care. I tried to, and I did actually get involved with CASA. And I don't know if you know what CASA is, but I was a CASA advocate for 3 years with a young lady. And yeah, I was too late to help. So she
my
was
mother was
already,
a CASA for several years. So,
yeah,
yeah.
it it didn't I
Can
hope
you
that
just tell us what that is? Because I don't know what that is.
CASA is a court appointed special advocate for foster children. And so, as a CASA advocate, you meet with your child and just make sure they're okay. And you try to create and form a bond with them so that they will trust you because the system is just all over. And it's supposed to be someone that sticks with them through their entire foster care until they get adopted or they are placed back in the home or whatever. But you're allowed to be friends with them forever. You're allowed to be friends with them and track them forever. But it was very unfortunate in my situation. I was assigned to a 15-year-old girl who I hope I was able to leave some impression on over the 3 years. But it was it was already embedded in her to be that narcissist. She already had the trauma and didn't believe she needed help and still doesn't. So I'm hoping at some point it'll come back around. I'll hear from her and things have changed. But as of right now, she's still outside of the law. So I and is what I consider a little bit dangerous. So just because of the people that she runs with. So and she's 18, she's 19 now, but I can't. So anyway, it's heartbreaking. But so Janine, wow, oh wow, to bring them into your home and yeah, wow, it's always been a hard pull for me too. But so far I've not made that leap, but that is a pull of mine to the foster children and in our foster care and what happens to kids in our foster system. And yeah, we won't go there. I'm not I don't have any, that's all I have is my experience being a CASA advocate, but just wow, I just love that. So
I think this is why these kinds of things are happening, where people like us are getting together and sharing the loving, comforting side, the divine, powerful, feminine of healing and light and life. We're coming together because the world needs us to rise up,
yes,
to show our light, and to love on
yes,
it in very healthy, mature ways that they won't get away with just, you know, living less than, living less than their true light. And we're allowing them to be themselves within, like you were talking about the boundaries, when you do the hypnosis with people and you have that boundary, that edge where you are the parent, the adult, and you won't let them step into something that's going to be too um, potentially harmful, right? But you know those boundaries well because you've been to those tender edges, and you can give them, you can hold that space for them. This is why we're doing what we're doing, because
mhm,
we are going to be holding the world when it's going to be reeling again
yes,
and feeling the effects of whatever is imposed upon her. We're going to be the ones to say, we got you, we love you, we're here for you, you're a light too, you just don't know it, you just forgot it, and that's okay, we're here to remind you. So it's good, it's good.
yeah. I
So
think of so I don't in the Christian faith or in churches. Let's just put it that way. In churches, I don't want to pick on any faith or anything, but we have
I
been.
want you to be absolutely real, because
Oh,
I
I'm
love it.
honest.
Like
You know I'm honest.
we need to be real, and we need to be critical too. And so bring it.
Well,
That's all I have to
the
say.
church, many churches, the church has taught us that our source, our God, our source, our light. I don't like to use the word God necessarily because I think
Hmm.
it's been misused in so
Yep.
many ways to describe so many different things.
Hmm.
And so I choose the word source because, like I said, God with a little g. Um, not sure about all those,
Hmm.
but in church, I feel like, and I was subjected. I don't want to say subjected. I voluntarily went to church with my grandparents, who are the narcissistic parent, my parents, my narcissistic parents' parents.
Mm.
And it was, and again, I'm not picking on any faith. This was just my experience. It was a
Yep.
Pentecostal church. It was Pentecostal. And from a very young age, I remember sitting in the pew with my grandparents because I wanted to be attached to them. I love my grandpa
Hmm.
and wanted to go with him, very little. And they were talking about, hail, fire, damnation. We're going to be rained down upon. You need to fear God. And I
Mm.
remember sitting on Grandpa's lap, and I turned around and I said, "Grandpa, not my God,
Mm.
not my God. I
Wow.
don't. No, that's not what He wants. That's not what my
Mm.
God says."
Hmm.
And so, like I said, I was kind of a weird kid.
Love
Um,
it.
but I knew
Hmm.
back then that
Yeah.
things weren't right and things were, but we've been taught that we're outside of God. We're not God.
Yes.
That we need to fear God. He's something outside of us. And they always use a he's
Yep.
outside of us. But I've learned, and God, in their own teachings, God is everything.
Hmm.
Then how am I not God?
Hmm.
It just didn't make sense to me.
Hmm.
And you got to make sense to this kid because that didn't make sense to me.
Hmm.
So I've come to understand through my meditations and other learnings and teachings that maybe we're not all of God,
Hmm.
but maybe we're just a blood cell of God,
Mm.
or maybe you're a heart cell, or
Mhm.
maybe, but we're all within the body of God.
Mhm.
And so as we function as a healthy cell of God, source, I'm going to use
Mhm.
the word source.
Yeah.
That's how we're making a difference, is
Yes.
making our source healthy, one
Yes.
cell at a time. So
Yes.
I've been shown in huge meditations, that is the micro is the macro. And
Yes.
I don't, yes, people say as above, so below. That's not what I'm talking about.
Mhm.
What I'm talking about is if you think of yourself as a cell of God,
Mhm.
and you're just functioning and you're just doing your little day to day, but you're shining your light and you're making the other cells around you healthy, and you're
Mhm.
the body of God is going to be healthy and full of light.
100%. I love it.
So but everything is the macro and the micro. And
I love it.
I'm going to bring an image in from a session last night. You know who I had that with?
Mhm.
And there was a beautiful image, but it revealed that there was a one organism that was made up of hundreds of organisms. And it was asked of me, wait, can you have hundreds of guides? Can you have hundreds of souls on your side? Yeah,
Wow.
you can have armies. I have armies. I have
Mm.
tribes. So, but they all work together, making
Yes.
one. And that was the cool imagery of
Wow.
what was said. And
Yes.
I don't know how much that of an impact that had, but to me, it was huge. It
Yeah.
said volumes, because all of these entities were working together to make
Wow.
one beautiful entity. But he saw them as, yes, one entity, but he could see all the little individual entities in it as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just priceless. The imagery that comes through is just, and it's never wrong. It may not
Right.
be the same as someone else's, and the art form is in a different way,
Mm-hmm.
but they're all beautiful. I mean, I
Yes.
can't tell you the number of waterfalls and beautiful caves and
Mm.
things I've experienced on these journeys with people, and they take me with
Mm.
them. And it's
Love
just
it.
beautiful.
I
It's
love
just
it.
beautiful. And what I get to see, and I get off of a call and I'm just like, wow, wow. And I walk around going, wow. And my husband's like, what are you talking about? And I'm just like, wow, wow.
So
So
gorgeous. I
so
love
yeah,
it.
it is. Well, I'd like to, before we get too far, I would kind of like
Mhm.
to, for anyone, is there anyone here who hasn't experienced a hypnosis session? I just kind of want to describe the process and what
Mhm.
it's like, and
That's
what you
great.
might feel, and what you might, what your journey might be, because everyone's different, and I can't tell you for sure where you're going to go or who you're going to meet, but how it works, again, like I said earlier, the imagination is the language of the soul. And so if you want to allow your soul to talk to you, you have to quiet your mind, and you have to ask. You have to ask. They're not going to help you if you don't ask. It's not within them. So my new philosophy is I don't help anybody unless they ask me to, because if I do, I'm a busybody. I've been told that on multiple occasions. So I only help people who ask, or who are clearly in need of physical help right at the moment. Obviously, I'm not going to walk by someone who's passed out on. I don't mean to make it sound like that, but I'm not going to butt into somebody's life unless they invite me and ask me for their help. And our guides are the same way, because if you don't act that way, you're acting against their own journey. So you may have, I'm sure everybody's heard that, or I feel like I'm just repeating stuff that's probably been out there for years, but your guides will sit back and wait, as we learned last night. They will sit back and wait and not make an appearance until you recognize that they're there, and ask for their help. And then you ask for their help, and you ask for assistance in your own strength. Hey, I'm working here, but I could use a little help. I'm not going to ask you to do it all, but I could use some help. And then they'll come in like an army. That's what they did for me. And I'm about to cry too, because I never thought my hypnosis, I don't want to call it a profession, but the practice, whatever you want to call it. I don't like labeling it, and I don't like saying clients because that's not the way I feel about people. I feel like it's just people that I've worked with, people who asked for my help. Um, so I don't like to use that word either. But once you start asking and poking around in there and saying, can I meet you? Can you give me a name? Can I see what you look like? What do you represent? And then they just start coming in. Now, it took me a year to meet all of, well, I still don't know all of my guides, but to meet a significant portion of my guides and for my higher self to give me a name. My higher self goes by a name. Some don't, but it was a mixture of meditations, things that came in during meditations, and then confirmations that would come from the outside world. And I'll give you an example. One of my guides, her name is Sarah, and one of my daughter's names is Sarah. And I heard Sarah, and I said, "Oh, like my daughter Sarah, maybe something's wrong with Sarah." And it said, "No, Sarah with an H." And I was like, "Okay, well, my Sarah is spelled Sara with no H." And I was like, "Okay, Sarah." And then I heard Sister Sarah. It's like, okay, make sure you get the sister in there because it's important. So I go do research. Of course, I'm hearing Sister Sarah. So I go do research and I find out Sarah's a biblical name and she's the half sister of Abraham. And so it was important for them to tell me that it's Sister Sarah. That's who I am. That is who you're thinking about. I'm like, wow, that is really cool. And then later that day, I was listening to a podcast and it was unrelated to spiritual anything. And there were three kids that were, I don't know, it was just a podcast where they were doing some urban exploration or whatever. And that the host specifically said, "Now I'm going to be joined by my sister Sarah." And I was like, okay, that's three hits. I'm done. Sister Sarah, you're my guide. You're who you are. And then I started learning what she brought into my life, um, which is pretty much unconditional love and some other things. But each one of my guides has made themselves known that way. And and because I'm so analytical, that was hard for me to accept. And so the universe kind of helped. I'm a very analytical person. I was a computer programmer. I worked with data structures and data processing, and that's, I can go there easily. I could be a technical person and just deal with the data, deal with the code, but that wasn't going to be my path completely, apparently, because I've kind of crossed over into the spiritual world because the beyond quantum healing sessions, they do deal with a spiritual aspect. But I will interject, they don't always. When I first started practicing, so much of it came from just this childhood, this lifetime's childhood, things that were affecting people from this lifetime, this childhood that they didn't know about. Those come up too. So it's really the only delimiters on where this can go and what can be seen and understood and is the belief systems of the person I'm working with.
Mm-hmm.
So if they don't believe they've had a quantum or another life, they're not going to experience it. If they don't believe it's possible, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So you can come to me all day long and say, well, you know, I want a past life experience. I want to see if this is real. Well, if you don't believe it's real,
Mm-hmm.
your
Mm-hmm.
subconscious is not going to let it come through.
Yes.
So unless you've accepted that, so the people that I work with that haven't really accepted the quantum side of life,
Mm-hmm.
um, they're not going to have a past life experience. They're not going to, but still, that's not to say it's not helpful. And I can give
Yeah.
you a quick example. I worked with a woman who had no idea why she kept sabotaging her life, why everything got sabotaged, and it was her doings. And we went back, and I had a couple of sessions with her. But in the final session, she went back to a teenage time when she had gotten an opportunity to audition for a part in a movie, she
Mm.
thought at the time. And so she went and auditioned. She got called back. She felt very special from a childhood that was very unspecial. She was not a happy, this was not a good home. This was a broken home. This was very bad. But she got this one opportunity and she thought it was amazing and it was going to be everything and she was going to be so happy. Well, she got the call back and she went back. And unfortunately, it was not a movie audition at all. It was a human trafficking setup.
Mm.
And she was sexually assaulted. And I
Mm.
don't know if I can say that, if you can put that out.
Mhm.
But right at that moment, that was when she said to her, I don't deserve to be special. I don't deserve to be happy. I
Wow.
shouldn't have ever done this. I should have never reached for a star. I should have never, never, never.
Mm.
And she said that to herself in such a profound way
Mm.
that the rest of her life she spent sabotaging anything good that would come along.
Wow. Mhm.
And until she put those two together and was able to remove that energy, which I do,
Mhm.
I do a physical visioning of removing that energy and giving it back to that perpetrator because it was never hers to carry. It was
Mhm.
never her fault.
Mhm.
And I give it back and then we fill that up. She never really put together that that was the cause. She knew that that had happened. She didn't forget that that had happened. But we were working on why are you sabotaging yourself? We weren't
Yes.
working on, this trauma specifically. But when this came up and we were able to give that energy back to that perpetrator and fill it up with light, she wrote me back and she said, Melissa, people can see my light now
Oh.
where they never could see it before. They're
Mm.
noticing the difference. They've
Mm.
told me they can see a difference in my light.
Mm.
I'm just more joyful. I've just I've put it where it belongs. It's just a matter of putting things back into the right place
Yeah.
and letting own who made that decision and letting them own it and not you. It was not your fault.
Mhm.
Now, when it is your fault or when you do have some guilt in it, we deal with that too, because you
Mhm.
have to deal with that guilt and
Yes.
say, okay, I own it. It was my choice. I take that responsibility. And then forgive yourself, remove that energy and fill it with light and go on. But
Mhm.
the longer you harbor that against them or yourself, because most victims do blame themselves. I think we all know that.
Mhm.
Okay. So giving it back to the person who made the decision is the right thing to do. And then you just have to let them own it. And then they've got to deal with it in their own way. And
Yes.
I truly believe their spirit feels that because as long
Yes.
as they are able to transfer it onto you spiritually, they don't have to deal with it. But the
Mhm.
minute you give it back to them karmically, spiritually, quantumly,
Mhm.
they have to own it. They have to deal with it. You don't.
Well, I don't know if you'll remember this, but that happened actually when I gave back my mom, when I gave
Mhm.
her stuff back to her, because she had blamed me for a lot of stuff that wasn't mine to carry, and I gave it
Yes.
back to her. And you asked me like how she felt about that, and I just saw relief on her face, like she
Hmm.
was actually relieved. And
Yeah.
that happens, doesn't it? When something that we have done, when it finally comes out into the open, it's like, okay, no more running, no more hiding, no more pretending. It's
The
out in the
truth
open.
wants to be known.
Yeah. Yeah.
The truth absolutely wants to be known. It is its own entity. And like I said, if
For
you've ever had
sure.
any communications from me or I'm going to say, and I made this word up, I'll admit it. Well, I didn't make it up. My guides gave it to me, and it's true lowly. And
Yes.
that means truth, love, and light.
Mm.
And and if I have to have any religion, that's my religion.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only thing I obey is
Yes.
my dedication and my loyalty to truth, love, and light.
Yes.
And I will tell you the truth if it's going to help you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I may not tell you the truth if all it's going to do is hurt your feelings and can't move something forward. But the
Yeah.
truth, I mean, that old saying, the truth shall set you free.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there is nothing There is nothing truer than that.
Yes. I think one of the reasons why I wanted to bring you into this space, Melissa, is because like your heart speaks for itself. Your heart, your spirit, your love, your intention, it truly is the heart of God. And I think the ones who have come into this place, into the secret garden, they know that there's more than what we have been taught, what we've understood,
Mm.
and we are very open to experiencing. A lot of trepidation comes when, we've been for many, many years, many of us, generations even, we've been programmed to believe that if we do a certain thing or believe a certain thing, that we will be punished for that, whether
Hmm.
it's hell or just,
Right.
excommunication from the church or whatever form it takes. And what I want to encourage everybody is to feel Melissa's heart. Please feel Melissa's heart. And like look at I'm like yes I'm you guys know already, you're here, you feel her, and she really does want you to know love. She wants you to love yourself. She wants you to be a light. All the
Mhm.
things that we talk about in the Bible, in church, this is really truly her heart. And she doesn't maybe have the same language that we're used to. And please let go of that. And I wanted to just include the whole concept of guides. I wanted to just say, we don't have to put any labels on anything because we know, we've learned and have heard many people talking about angels. The Bible's full of
Mhm.
angels. What we need to let go of is putting it in a certain box, because of course we can call angels guides and guides angels, and it's like Melissa said at the very beginning of our meeting today, that many of them don't even want to be labeled. They don't want to be
Mhm.
labeled because it's we who put so much attachment and emotion and meaning and significance to the label. Let the label go. Doesn't really matter. There's a host of heaven who support you. You can call them angels, you can call them guides, you can call them beings, you can call them the cloud of witnesses, you can call them ancestors, you can call them generational, whatever. God is behind it all. There's a host of heaven who want you to know love so much so that you will be set free to be the light that you really are. And that's Melissa's heart. So, yeah. And so please, I don't know if you have a special offer for us, Melissa. I didn't ask you about that beforehand, but um, I want people to, if they feel called, I want them to connect with you, let go of any kind of preconceived whatever, let go of fear, be bold and courageous and step into something that in the past you probably would have sent yourself to hell for. you know
Oh yeah.
Step into something and just get to know her, even if it's just a session to just, like she said, you don't have to go into the darkest dungeons and deepest things. She really will be gentle with you, and you will build that relationship with her, and you will be able to trust her. I'm sure of it. So go ahead. Sorry,
No,
Melissa.
no, all of that's good, and I appreciate that. And so, as far as a special offer, I mean, I didn't think about that, but this is what I do in general. If I can just talk about my pricing structure, because I live a very conservative life. I'm not extravagant. I even work another job. So this is not all about money. So here's my pricing structure, and this is the way I wanted to go forward. And there in July, I was certified in August of 23, and I wanted to do as many free sessions as I could for the experience of it, to gain, just to make sure I was really good at what I was doing, and I could help people and make sure I wasn't wasting someone's time. So I've I set an apprenticeship goal. I use that word, apprenticeship goal, for myself. BQH, the foundation, didn't require any number of sessions, but I set a number of sessions for myself at 25 very successful sessions. Well, I'm now over 35 very successful sessions. So I still offer a free BQH session, and I do that because there are too many people out there that need help that can't afford, $400 a session or whatever it is. And I just don't believe in charging that much. So if you go to book a session with me, you're going to have three choices for an online 2-hour session. Okay. My full price, my big full price is $55 for a 2-hour session. And I'm doing that because I have needed help. I have wanted sessions, and I go to book a session and they're $200+ and I just didn't have it. I just didn't, I just couldn't justify it, especially on an ongoing basis. So that's my full price session for now and for as, for until it has to change. But I don't see that changing for a year. And then I offer a discounted session at $35 a session, so that if someone wants to pay but just doesn't feel like the 55 is right for them, or they just want to try it, they're not sure, but they have the money, and I leave it up to your higher self. You decide. And if you truly, truly want a session and you simply cannot afford it, I still want to help. So there's a free session out there. And on top of that, if you want to book a free session and you feel like, oh my gosh, I really want to pay for that, I do have a post-session payment option that you can go back and do a payment with if your heart feels like you want to do that. But I really want to leave this up to whoever wants the session. You pay what you feel like you can, and then if you want to pay more after it's over, you can do that too. But I live a very conservative life. I can't pay hundreds of dollars for any session, although I've saved up and I've done that. But this isn't about the money. Um, Source has already told me, I'm going to provide for you. You're going to be okay. You're going to be fine. It may not come through payment for a BQH session, but it'll come some other way. So don't worry. And he's made that abundantly clear with a huge check I needed that came out of the blue.
Wow.
Had no idea it was coming. Don't even know how it was there. It was a 10-year-old 401k. I thought I'd cashed out 10 years ago. And he brought it to me when I needed it, when I needed the help.
Yeah.
So I know he's going to take care of me.
Awesome.
So I just want to take care of other people. And so those three options are available, and a post-payment option if you want it. I also will do an in-person session if you want to come to Mena, Arkansas. But that's totally up to you. It's a fun place. It's a cool place. I love it here, but it is in the middle of nowhere. I will tell you that. In the middle of nowhere, Arkansas, but we love it. It's beautiful here in the Ouachita Mountains.
Wow.
So that's my pricing structure. So I wish I could say I had thought of something specially for this session.
It's very generous.
But that's what I do for anybody and everybody who feels like they want to explore this modality of healing. And I don't think I think I got sidetracked that I didn't go through the session.
But let me just interject one thing, because there was a question that came up, and if there's a way that people can pay a little bit more so that other people can afford sessions, can we also, like, is there a link to, because I put all your socials in there already. But is there a way that, we can donate?
You can, I don't know about donation. I'm not I don't have any legal 401(c) or whatever the nonprofit is. So, but I do have like I said, I have a post-session payment option that if you get a session and you just think, oh my gosh, I can't even believe I just got that for free. I'm going to, I want to send $20 and it's totally up to the person, whatever but that's what I'm calling it. I'm calling it a post-session payment option. And I have it on my website. It's the little gift box up in the top. I don't want to make a big deal out of the money, but I appreciate you for asking. And it's funny that you said that, because I actually had some feedback from someone I'd worked with, and they had tried to recommend me to someone else, and they told them that was the best session I've ever had in my life. And And so you should really try it. And they went on my booking site and they saw that my price is normally, and he was telling you can get one for free. And he went on my site and he saw that it was only $35 or $55 for a full session. And he said, well, it must not be worth much of anything if it's only
Wow.
$55.
Yeah.
And I said, well, you know what? That is not my kind of person to work with. If
I
if the
love
if
that.
the only value, and that was their, and they were trying to give me honest feedback. They were trying to say,
Yes.
hey, maybe your prices are too low. Well, maybe they are. Maybe they
I
are,
love
but
that.
that's not who I want to work with.
Oh my gosh. So I gotta tell you, I love that you said that right there because I have a mentor who I love and honor and respect so, so, so much. And she's been after me to up my prices, up my prices, up my prices, up my prices. And I have in many ways, but it never really seemed to fit. It never really seemed to resonate and be in alignment with my heart. But I did it because I thought that I was doing something wrong if I didn't.
Yeah.
And I know, and I love her and I respect her and I get where she's coming from. And I think for many people that they need to do that. But what you just said, um, yeah, I need to sit with that because that right there was like a session
I
for
can
me.
put an option out there. I can put an option out there where you can
Right?
pay,
Yeah.
$500 for it.
Hmm.
That's not me.
Yeah.
Authenticity. I watched a program not too long ago, and they were measuring the frequency of emotion.
Hmm.
And it blew me away. And they said, do there's truth, there's love, there's all these emotions, but do you know what the highest frequency of emotion that they've been able to measure? Any guesses?
Gratitude? I don't know.
Nope, not even gratitude. I would have
Okay.
thought gratitude. I
Hmm.
would have thought, selflessness, being authentic to yourself,
Oh, wow. Hmm.
being authentic to yourself,
Hmm.
self-authenticity, just all in, it doesn't have anything to do with anybody else. It's just all right here. Being
Wow.
authentic to yourself, you're going to be emitting the highest frequency of your being by being
Self-realization,
and
self-fulfillment,
self-authenticity.
self-actualization. I love that. Knowing your true self, knowing
Hmm.
and
And
completely loving
being yourself.
yourself.
Yes.
Let your light shine. I
Hmm.
love
And
this.
being your
Yes.
authentic self is the highest form of frequency that you can admit so others can feel, and they feel it. People
Ah,
tell me they feel it. Even when I
yeah.
was young teaching the martial arts,
Mm.
they could feel my energy, and people would tell me, I feel your energy. I'm like,
Oh,
yeah, that's, I didn't know why, but now I do. Now I know
girl.
why.
How beautiful. That was, I mean,
And so,
I could end it there, but I do want to hear about the whole session. Like I want everybody to know what to expect when they get a session. But thank you so much for that. What a beautiful um I don't know, a piece of the puzzle. It's a beautiful piece of the puzzle.
it's an
Mm.
eye-opening piece of the puzzle. And
You
and
just
when
got a
you
message too that that was a very appropriate word for somebody personally right there. So yeah, thank
awesome.
you.
That's perfect. And it's always meant for somebody, right? So I've learned that there's always somebody out there that needs to hear
Love it.
something.
Yes.
But that's all I want to bring out is someone's authentic self. But going
Hmm.
back to when you
Okay.
experience a session.
Yes.
So I'm going to give you that permission for 2 hours, and it's just about you. It's like I said, if you only get a beautiful 2 hour nap, hey, you know, that's perfect. But what I'm going to do is we're going to set your intentions with a water alchemy. We're going to breathe and drink those in with water, through water. I always bring water into it. I'm a water baby personally. Love the water. But then we're going to bring our hearts into coherence, and we're going to talk about removing any barriers that you need to go through, and we're just going to let you relax. And we're going to just bring you deeper, relaxing your body, relaxing your eyes, relaxing your mind. But then I'm going to start you into I'm just going to ask you to vision with me. we're just going to play a vision game. We're just going to start visioning. And I don't like to give away what my visions are, before, because that's part of the surprise as you start visualizing things. And then I'll ask you to expand your vision and see what you see, and expand your vision and see what you see. And then I'll say, oh, okay, well, that's beautiful. And then I'll make some suggestions that, maybe there's something over there, and right over there is your healing place. And then when you get over there, I want you to tell me what it is. And so we'll take you to a healing place, and it'll be of your own design. So you'll come up with your own healing place, and there are many, there are many. But I'll tell you, it doesn't have to be here on Earth. It can be in space, time, under the water, on the moon. Makes no difference to me. Wherever you feel that connection, that's where you need to go. And then as you start visioning and just start relaxing and enjoying the visual vacation that you're going on, and that healing vacation, then you're able to allow other, let's just call them energies, to come in, and then they start materializing and they start talking. And it may not be a human form, it may be an energy form, or it may be an animal. It can be anything. So it's just so much fun to be a kid again and to allow your imagination to take the front seat. And that is something we don't do. We don't do as an adult. We never let our imagination take the front seat. If we did, this world would be so different. But that, now, you will encounter, or you can encounter. I've I've had people never cry, never break an emotion through the whole thing, and I'm thinking, wow, this really isn't working for them. This really isn't. And then after we have a conversation, after we bring you back, and they're just like, oh my gosh, wow, that was and I was like, whoa, you really had that big of an experience. And I was like, okay, but because normally there's some emotion that goes along with these things. And that's how I know that you're really in the depths of your soul, is when that emotion is coming forward, and you are releasing that. And not only are you releasing it, so you can release trauma in many, many ways. Massage is a way of releasing trauma to the body. Because I've had my massage therapist say, Melissa, I've had somebody on the table and I just hit a spot and worked on it for a second, and they started bawling. And it was something that they were holding emotionally in their body. And did I already say this on this interview? And if I did, I'm sorry. But it's been proven that your DNA, just a few strands or a single strand of DNA, can store the entire information on the internet. So your body stores every trauma that you've ever had, not only in this lifetime, but in lifetimes before. And it's mind, body, and spirit for a reason, because they are all attached. So if you have a pain in your body that you can't explain, this is very helpful. I go in and I use that pain. I make it a big portal, and we step right through it. And then we go see what's in there, and we bring the light on it, and we shine a light directly on it. We have to see what it is. And then you're actively being able to deal with the pain in your shoulder or wherever it's residing. And that pain may go away. That pain may be there, but that pain is there from something. So we use that as a portal. I use emotional pain as a portal. I use everything as a portal. We just step right through it. And then we step through into the darkness and let that portal close behind us. And then we bring up the light and we see what's in there. And I just, again, I just can't say enough about hitting things head on, because our society has been so about stuffing it back and stuffing it down and not talking about your emotions. And, you know,
And there's something about having you there. It's almost like
mhm,
just your energy gives the recipient the courage to be able
mhm,
to go into those
mhm.
darker
It's weird.
places.
People want permission.
Mm,
People want permission to deal with things that
it's
they've been
scary.
told are
It's
off
scary.
limits.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes, yeah.
And there is nothing more sacred than your being to
Mm-hmm.
you. And you have a right to know everything about your being. Uh,
Yes.
y- And
And
people
the
think
more
they
that
don't
you
have
know
the
about
right.
yourself, the more
Yes,
you can have that great vibration so that you can actually draw people to
we have
you.
been so conditioned. And I say people do this, people do that. Yeah, we do it to ourselves, but it's that, well, that's what we learned and it seems to be working for everybody else. So why don't we
Mm.
just do it too? And it doesn't. It doesn't work
That's
for
right.
anyone. It does not work for anyone to stuff it down. And
Yeah.
so yeah, I'm blatantly honest and
Hmm.
and and can be brutally truthful.
Hmm.
Um and
But
I won't
in a very gentle, responsible,
only
respectful way.
right,
So,
only if I think
yeah.
it's going to help. Oh,
Yes.
and I'm not, yeah, that may be the ugliest dress I've ever seen anybody
Yeah.
wear that you're wearing today. But if I don't think it's going to help you to know that
Yes.
information, I'm
Hmm.
not going to say a word. I may
Yes.
even say, "Wow, you look very dressed up today."
Yes.
So, but
It's
so I
beautiful.
take that honesty right into my sessions. Um, I'm ahead, like I
Yeah.
said, I'm a head-on girl. It
And
just,
then, so after you've gone through those places, because I want to give some time for everybody to ask some
oh,
questions.
oh my
So do you
goodness.
want to, yeah, it's almost three. So when you're wrapping up, what should people expect then?
Well, before we wrap up, whatever we're dealing with, like I said, I take that energy. I ask you to take that. And I don't take the energy. I ask you to take that energy out of your body, see it as goo, bring it on out, and hand it to the person who's standing there in front of you who should be carrying that goo. Okay, then we fill that up with light, and then, well, kind of lost my place, but it's just a matter of sealing that up with light. So you're going to go to a healing place. You want to get your fortitude. You want to be fortified before you go tackling any of these scary pains, aches, pains that are in your mind. But then we deal with them and res- I wouldn't say, I'm not going to say we resolve them, but we give you tools to resolve them, to continue to bringing in that light in those places and that awareness. Sometimes just the awareness takes away the fear. Oh, that's what I was afraid of. That's not anything. Experienced that with one person who into the darkness could see these huge, scary cats, big, large cats, right? Didn't no nothing really, just it was just a fear that this person was seeing, and it was a very large cat. But when we were able to bring the light into this place where they were experiencing these big scary cats, those cats shrunk down to kittens just because the light was there and they had been afraid to look and see that it was just a big shadow. It was never a big cat to begin with. It was just a little cat that got pushed down and was scary. And it wasn't really a cat. That was just representative of the fears that had been pushed down and pushed away and not looked at. But after all, once you put the light on the fear, it just dissolved into nothing to be afraid of. So, yeah, that's what I do. That's what I do in my sessions. But then we bring you back feeling great, feeling rejuvenated,
Mhm.
and
Yep.
it is just, I just want to stress, it is your time. It is your 2 hours. You don't get to do anything else but think of you and get in your own mind and take a vacation from all the woo
Yeah.
that's going on.
Yeah.
So is that pretty representative? I think it is. I
I
have
think so.
forgotten
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. No, I mean,
I get to talking and then I
uh,
just stop.
well, a lot of the thing that really stands out to me is that it is a very unique and individual experience. And
Yes.
although the format might be the same, in terms of the structure of the session, everybody's experience and outcome and what they get from it is very individual and unique to themselves. And so we all have the ability to govern ourselves and allow in what we want to allow in and to say no to what we don't want to allow in. And so and I mean, there's no imposition by Melissa or really any other human being that can influence us in a way that is undesirable unless we have already said yes to it for whatever reason. So what I'm trying to say is your free will not be um, taken from you. You will not be limited in your ability to say, no, I don't want to go there. Melissa will help you feel comfortable and to, use what is inside of you in order to help you face some of those things that appear to be very scary, but it won't be something that she's going to drag you through. It will be up to you to say, yes, I want to go there. And she will do everything that she can to facilitate that for you, that experience for you. You ultimately are the one to say yes or no to any experience.
That is right.
In any session. So
that is right. You are never, ever unconscious.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you fall asleep. That has happened to me. But you're not unconscious. You will remember everything. And I do an audio tape, so you'll get that the next day. You'll be able to listen to it again, so you don't have to worry about keeping up or remembering, because I'm going to give you the audio tape. Technology willing. I've had a problem with that too, just once. But you're never out of control.
Yes.
And you're not, I'm not going to ask you to quack like a duck, and unless you want unless you want to work on a habit. I've had people ask me, "Oh, can you address my weight gain? Can you address my smoking?" Well, maybe your higher self can. I can't. I'm going to ask your higher self for the guidance on that. I'm going to let you tell me what's going to help you and how much of a problem it is for you. It's not a problem to me. I don't care what you do. But if you want to work on it with me, I'll go there with you.
Yes.
But it's not a problem for me. And one last thing in a session, a lot of people have been asking to meet their guides and their higher selves. And I'm going to say, after several sessions of having that as being the request, yes, that can happen if you allow yourself to the freedom to do that. And those have been some incredible sessions that I just left going, wow. So that also can be a part of the session once we get you into that place where you're allowing energies to come into you and meet you. And then we ask them one by one, okay, who's the next guide? Who's the next guide? And each one of them has, to some extent, has introduced the next one to come in and meet you. And they'll only go as far as they want to go. You won't, I mean, you won't meet 100 guides. They'll only do a few at a time so you can get to know them. I think that's my theory, but that can also be part of a session. Sorry, I just wanted to add that.
Yeah, no, and I wanted to share too that, I did meet my higher self. I mean, I don't think I had an image of what my higher self was like. But then, I had this thought about her being very tall and very stoic,
Yes.
but with this kind of almost smirk about her. Like I knew that there was a lightheartedness about her, and so just having that experience has also been replayed back for me and throughout the past few weeks since we've had our session, where I just feel not necessarily, because I am much more of a like a somber kind of person, like more
Me
serious,
too.
and so when I think about my higher self being that stoic person but having that little bit of a smirk, it seems to lighten me, and so I still get benefit from that. So it might be beneficial to you as well to have that experience, to meet your higher self and have an image put to your higher self. But I want, for those who might be wondering about the whole thing about meeting your guides and all that kind of stuff, I just felt it important to remind us that Jesus is the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. And if that is his position in the realm of, the spirit or the realm of the earth, or however we perceive that position to be in that hierarchical kind of chain of command, then it is certainly possible that he would allow these guides to serve you underneath his command. So maybe we can look at it that way. Maybe they're angels, maybe they're a cloud of witnesses or whatever, but we're engaging with Christ. We're engaging with the fullness, the wholeness of everything already having been reconciled to God in heaven and on earth. So all things are complete and full and finished through that. And it's through that that you can take courage and trust the Spirit to lead you and guide you into all truth. So hopefully that will land, and definitely don't jump into anything. If there is fear, we can talk about it, we can process it. You can even, I'm sure Melissa would be open to just, talking with you and addressing any concerns that you might have if that's something that is a bit scary for you to step into. So I love it when we meet, even if we just sit here and look at each other. So good, so good. All right, so I don't want to hold you up. It's 3:03 now. I want to just thank you so much for joining us and sharing your heart with us, and making yourself available, and for doing what you do. We're so, so grateful, and I'm excited to hear how everyone's sessions will be with you. If they want to share, they can share, because yeah.
Let me say that really quickly.
Mhm.
So I don't share anything.
Mhm.
And Sylvie, I want to make sure you know
Mhm.
that whatever you share and trust in me is only shareable unless you want to share it. Now, I may
Yes.
tell a story, I may tell a snippet from your story, but I will never identify you, and I will never do anything to compromise that trust. That is not who I am. That is absolutely not who I am.
Mhm.
So,
That's that
but
mama bear. I can feel
that's
her.
the mama bear.
Yeah.
Oh, I will not. Mm-mm. So, someone who trusts me, they have trust forever. But
Yes.
if your story is significant and it has some significant spiritual, I want to share your story.
Mhm.
I'm not about outing people or that kind of thing. But if your story is going to help somebody else, I hope you'll allow me to share it, because that's the whole point of doing what I do, is to help. And
Mhm.
and our stories can help other people. And that's just the way I feel.
Absolutely. Yes.
Does that
100%.
make sense? Okay.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you for putting that out there.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
All
Yes,
right.
thank you.
Well,
All
ladies,
right,
it was a
blessings.
pleasure.
Mwah. I'm going to say goodbye to everybody.